Hey everyone, it's Mr. Hollywood, and today I will be doing a 31 on 31. So that is basically when we ranked it 31 movies on the 31st of the month. And this video was an idea from watching this YouTuber who you guys might know named Sean Chandler, who does a lot of movie talk just like me. And I thought that was a really interesting idea, so I decided I will do my 31 on 31 starting like in 31st of the month. And for this, I basically took 10 of the most iconic, like original trilogy, like first 3 films of the franchise. And basically, I wanted to rank them all. And I did have to have a 4th film for one of them just to make it complete. So the ones that I decided to do, and these ones are a little more classic, so that's why you won't see some of like the MCU trilogies, just to give you a heads up. So the ones I include are the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the original Star Wars, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films, the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy, the first 3 Rocky, the first 3 Harry Potter, the original Mission Impossible, the Back to the Future trilogy, the Indiana Jones films, and yeah, that is the one where I include 4, and then the first 3 Toy Story films. And I decided to rank them all from worst to best. Now, coming in last place, and this is pretty easy, this is the only film on this entire list that I do not like. Every other film I goes from like me liking it to like some of my favorites of all time. But in last place is Mission Impossible 2. This film does not know what it wants to be. Does it want to be a spy thriller? Does it want to be a romance? It doesn't know what it wants to be. And this is kind of the problem I had with the whole original Mission Impossible before Rogue Nation. But I feel like this film in particular kind of is the epitome of all of it. And I just don't know what they were thinking with this film. Dougray Scott as the villain was horribly miscast. I thought some of the action in this film was kind of weak compared to the whole Mission Impossible franchise. I did not like the ending fight. Like, yeah, there's a lot of films, there's a lot of things in this film that I don't like. The only redeeming quality is Tom Cruise is still kind of good in this, just, you know, he was in the wrong film. Now, coming in at number 30 is Rocky 2. Easily the weakest of the Rocky movies, and it feels like it's the same film as the original Rocky film, just not as good. Now, it does continue Rocky's arc really well, but this is definitely not top tier compared to some of this. But this is still like an 8 out of 10. Like, the top 30 are all 8 out of 10s compared to Mission Impossible 2, which is like probably only a 4 out of 10. So it's not like it's competing with Mission Impossible 2 for last place. It's in a very competitive matchup. Now, coming in at number 29 is Spider-Man 3. Easily the weakest between the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, but I still think this film has a lot of redeeming qualities. It has a great action, definitely the best in the trilogy, maybe even better than Tom Holland trilogy, I'd argue, besides No Way Home. And, yeah, I just really like this film. However, Venom in this was very lackluster, which definitely holds it back. Now, coming in at number 28 is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. And kind of like Rocky 2, it feels like the same film as its predecessor, just not as good. Now, there's still a lot to love. It does a great job at continuing it. Ron Weasley, Hermione, and Harry Potter have great chemistry. Hagrid and Dumbledore were really good characters in this. However, I feel like they should have like introduced Voldemort in this, and they don't really introduce him like that much until the 4th or 5th film. Like, I know that they talk about Tom Riddle, but you know, they don't really like outright introduce him in the 4th or 5th film, which is something they probably should have just done in the 2nd, or heck, maybe even 1st. But anyways, this film is still really good. It is just not number 1 in a competitive ranking. Now, coming in at number 27 is the original Mission Impossible. Now, this does have great world building. It is fun to see our lead characters on the screen for the first time. It has a great final fight with John Voight's character and Tom Cruise. However, the villain twist was rushed at the end. And, it was a little bit unpredictable, but it wasn't a great twist. Like, they didn't really build it up to have a great twist, which is something that bugs me a little bit. However, this film is still really good. Now, coming in at number 26 is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Definitely the weakest of the Indiana Jones franchise. And, I still really like this film. However, some people say it's better than Raiders of the Lost Ark. And it's like, no way. Harrison Ford is still great in this. And it was nice to see Keanu Vaughn as Short Rider, I believe was his name. And, I'm happy that he won the Oscar just a few weeks ago. However, in the middle, it definitely slows down with, like the plot line that I was not invested with. However, this does have great action towards the end. Now, coming in at number 25 is Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls. Yes, I would prefer it over Temple of Doom. And I think, it sets up Indiana Jones 5, even though it was a little unintentional, since this was technically supposed to be the last film. But, it sets up really nicely, and it was nice to see Indiana Jones back for, like, the first time since Last Crusade in 20 years. And, it was nice to see, like, him in a new phase of life. Now, coming in at number 24 is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Now, this does have some great world building, and Chris Columbus was the perfect director for this. He definitely knows how to work well with child actors, and, this film kind of proves it. There's just something so magical about this, seeing our characters on screen for the first time, and, and I think this sets up the rest of the franchise really well. Now, coming in at number 23, and now we're getting to like an 8.5 out of 10. Now, coming in at number 23 is Mission Impossible 3, and I think it does a really good job. Philip Seymour Hoffman is arguably the best film in this entire franchise, and it has really good action in the first 2/3 of it, and I just really like what they were going for this film. However, a little bit of a problem is it gets bogged down a bit for the final battle, but still a really good addition to this Mission Impossible trilogy. Now, coming in at number 22 is Back to the Future 3. Now, I know some people think Back to the Future 2 is worse than this. You're gonna be surprised where I put Back to the Future 2. However, I still think Back to the Future 3 is really good, and it is just the weak link of the trilogy. And, it was nice to see Marty McFly and Doc Brown one last time, and that final hour was really good, and maybe the best final hour. Now, it is a little slow during the first 2/3. However, once they get to the final hour, it was really satisfied with, how they closed out the trilogy. Now, coming in at number 21 is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Definitely my favorite of the original Harry Potter trilogy. And, I think he was a really nice addition, and, it was a pretty good big twist at the end, which is something I actually did not see coming. So, without question, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban is the best between the original Harry Potter trilogy. Now, coming in at number 20, Dark Knight Rises. Now, look, the final hour of this film, or maybe like final 45 minutes, but yeah, like the last few minutes of this film is great, and nice to see like Batman releasing the bomb, and it closed out Dark Knight trilogy really well. Where my problem goes a little bit is that in the middle, like, it was just so slow, like, where Batman's not helping, like, he was out of prison, like, in prison, like, yeah, like, after he broke his back with Bane. But once he got out of prison, oh my god, the movie does not let up for the last hour, and yeah, this film is fantastic, and it was a satisfying end to this amazing superhero trilogy. Now, coming in at number 19 is the original Pixar film, the first Toy Story, which is a film that I have a little bit of a soft spot for it because I used to watch this film all the time. I mean, it's essentially the epitome of everything I love about the Pixar films, and I want to include an animated trilogy in this, and this is definitely my favorite animated trilogy of all time. Anyways, this film was just, it does a great job of just introducing our favorite animated characters and characters that you just want to spend more time, and, y'all see Toy Story 2 much higher on this list. And, it just does some great world building. However, it just, I feel like it was just a little too short, which is why I had to bump it down a little too, I had to bump it down a few spots. But coming in number 18 is the original Spider-Man. I know some people think this is the best of the Spider-Man trilogy. I totally get that. Some people say it's even one of the best superhero films of all time. I'm not as high on this film as some people, but it is still a great film. However, just where this gets held back a little bit, and I kind of had this problem with the second film as well. I feel like just some of the action could have been better, but anyway, this film is still great, and it does start Peter Parker's arc really well. Now, coming in at number 17 is Toy Story 3. The first film I've ever saw in theaters, believe it or not. And, this does a good job of continuing with the ending this Andy trilogy for the Toy Story films. And, the final 40 minutes, I don't know if they can ever make me this emotional ever again. That was pure cinema. And, this film, deservingly so, got nominated for Best Picture that year. One of only 3 animated movies, too. So, yeah, this film was really good. And, it just shows how competitive that is. That is just a little lower. Now, coming in at number 16 is Rocky 3. I just think this film does a really good job at, showing Rocky's phase of life. Rocky doesn't want to be a boxer anymore. He wants to retire. I think they capped it off really well with, the final fight where, it's just, he wants to retire, but, at the same time, he wants to get on ring, and, it gets held back a little bit because they continued it a few times, which made this a little less unique. But still, a great film. Now, coming in at number 15, Spider-Man 2. Kind of like the original Spider-Man, I'm not as high on this film as some people, but I still think it's a great film. And, I really just like the whole film, about, Peter Parker, who, does he want to be Spider-Man, who's saving the city, or does he want to be someone who's in love? And, I think they did this very well in this and the third film. It gets held back a little bit by, Spider-Man not wanting to be Spider-Man anymore because it's bummed out. I know, and, I'm one of the few people that, it bothers. It's just, it feels a little bit, of just not, my favorite, way to approach things. I feel like they could have, written a little better. But, the rest of the film is perfect. Now, coming in at number 14 is Batman Begins. This definitely started the Dark Knight trilogy really well. It just, it feels like the perfect origin story. Ra's al Ghul was a great mentor and villain, and, it just, showed, Bruce Wayne's character arc and, how he had his family had a very rich history. It gets held back a little bit by, the final battle, where I feel like it was a bit rushed at the end, and I feel like Ra's al Ghul should have had more screen time. However, other than that, great movie. Now, coming in at number 13 is my favorite of the Toy Story trilogy, Toy Story 2. My God, is this film great, and this, kind of like the original Toy Story, and Toy Story 3 are films I used to watch all the time. It's just, very special for me a bit, and as someone that really enjoyed the Lightyear film, I thought the third twist was clever enough, which definitely feels like an homage to Empire Strikes Back. And I mean, yeah, I feel like this film is really good. Now, coming in at number 12 is Lord of the Rings and the Two Towers. This is definitely the weak link of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but who am I kidding? This is still like a great film. Now, coming in at number 11, original Rocky. This is my favorite of the Rocky movies. This film, it just starred Rocky's arc really well and, showed like an underdog how Rocky just wants to get on the ring, and then when he does at the end, it was so satisfying and a great start to the Rocky franchise. But coming in at number 10, New Hope. Now, I know some people think that another film might be the weak link of the trilogy. However, I think this might be the worst of the trilogy. However, this film is still great, and this is maybe the film I've seen more. The films before, like my, middle school years, like the films I used to watch all the time were the Toy Story trilogy and the original Star Wars trilogy. So I might have seen this movie more than any other, and, this film is great. It is the perfect hero's journey about these characters who you just, you kind of fall in love with immediately, and, once they all meet up, it is so satisfying. What George Lucas was able to accomplish, I mean, this is like one of the best achievements of all time, and this film deservingly so got an eye for Best Picture at the Oscars, and it deserves it. But coming in at number 9 is Return of the Jedi. Yes, I would prefer it slightly above New Hope. And, it's a great film. It, continues Empire Strikes Back of, Luke and the crew, are defeated. And then, they rescued Han, and, Vader is bringing in the Emperor, and it was so cool to see Emperor on screen. And, the whole movie is great. And, the final battle where Vader finally finds his humanity again, and basically he's willing to sacrifice himself for Luke, and then then blowing up the Death Star. I mean, that is top 3, maybe number 1 favorite final battles of the 80s. Now coming in at number 8 is The Dark Knight, my favorite of the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy, and this film was great, and Heath Ledger was obviously amazing as Joker, and I feel like Aaron Eckhart gets overlooked a bit as Two-Face, and then Christian Bale was obviously great as Batman. It's just like, this is like the perfect cast, and it just goes dark, and it feels very rich, and which is a good thing. And just the final battle where Batman has to take the fall for Two-Face. I mean, it's powerful, and it does set up The Dark Knight Rises really well. Now, coming in at number 7 is the original Back to the Future. I love this film. It is essentially the perfect time travel movie. I mean, Marty, he goes back to the 50s, to see his parents who were in high school then, and, it's an interesting concept. Now, coming in at number 6, this might surprise some people a bit. It is Back to the Future 2. Yeah, I prefer Back to the Future 2 over its original. And, you could argue the first film was a bit more of an achievement, maybe on like a objective level is better. I understand. And, I just really like this film. I mean, it just does a really good job of continuing with the first film, and then, where Biff Tannen, he basically, he turns back the future a bit, and, it was a pretty interesting, when they had to basically turn back time, and, it does set up Back to the Future 3 really well, and it is definitely my personal favorite of the Back to the Future trilogy. Now, top 5. Coming in number 5 is Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, the perfect adventure film. This film, it just kind of, it kind of captivates Harrison Ford's legacy, because, this was also around the same time as the original Star Wars trilogy. I mean, this one was really good. I mean, what I said that has already been said. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, yeah, I just really love this film. It is so fun. Now, coming in number 4 kind of like Back to the Future 2, Indiana, well, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Yes, I would prefer that over Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is like kind of similar to how Back to the Future 2, I would prefer that over first. And, maybe Raiders of the Lost Ark's a bit better on a technical level, but my favorite, I just prefer Last Crusade more. Also it brings in Sean Connery in the mix as his father. Harrison Ford and Sean Connery have great chemistry. It does close out the trilogy really well, and if this was the end, I would have been perfectly fine. This film is great, and yeah, it is my favorite of the Indiana Jones films. Now, coming in at number 3 is my favorite of the Star Wars original trilogy, and what a lot of people think is one of the best films of all time, Empire Strikes Back, and it is up there for me as well. I just think this film does a great job of continuing on with New Hope. It introduced the Imperial March, Darth Vader. It continues Darth Vader's story really well, and it continues Luke, Han, and Leia and Chewie's story really well. And it was obviously nice to see Lando, and the twist where Luke finds out that Darth Vader's his father. That just hits home every time. This film is great. Now, coming in at number 2 is Lord of the Rings: Fellowship of the Ring. This just explored Middle-earth really well. This is kind of the perfect beginning to a trilogy. It is. This film was kind of the big deal at the time, and this is definitely one of the best movies of the 2000s. This film is great, and it just leads the path for the Middle-earth franchise. But coming in at number 1 is Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. Oh my god, what a film. This is one of my favorite films of all time. Top 10, arguably. This one was great, and, if you guys ever want me to do a top 50 list, get this video to, maybe 30 likes, and I'll do a top 50 favorite movies of all time. That would be interesting. Also, if you guys ever want, I might do, I might rank all these trilogies. But yeah, anyway, Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, it just, it closes out the trilogy really well. This film is pure fantastic. This is the definition of fantastic. It goes full circle. The final battle is great, and, it's just, Sam destroying the ring. They were able to accomplish something special, and this is definitely a big achievement from Peter Jackson, and this definitely deserves the Best Picture win at the Oscars. So, without question, this is the best movie from these 10 trilogies. Now, thanks for watching. Feel free to share your ranking down in the comments, and peace out.